Pledge of worship. Welcome to the regular meeting of council, November the 3rd, 2020. Meeting called to order. We'll have a motion or a moment of silence. Approval of the agenda.
I have a motion moved by Rick Owen, seconded by Stacy White. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held on November 3rd, 2020, beginning at 4:40 p.m., be approved as circulated to all members of council.
All in favor? Motion carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Councillor Adams.
Item 6.4 and 6.5 due to employment at Kirkland Lake Gold.
Duly noted. Councillor Owen.
I have one declaration of pecuniary interest in the in-camera meeting, which I will declare at the start of that meeting.
Thank you. Petitions and delegations. Item 4.1. Crystal Gorman representing the Temiskaming Active School Travel and Charter. Charter. Crystal. Welcome to council.
So thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Crystal Gorman, and I'm a public health promoter at the Temiskaming Health Unit. Tonight, I'm presenting on behalf of the Regional Active School Travel Steering Committee. Today, I'm asking Council to consider strengthening your support of active and safe routes to school by adding your endorsement to our regional charter. Next slide, please. Active travel is any form of human-powered transportation, which includes anything from walking, cycling, skateboarding, or using a wheelchair. In this presentation, I'm going to give a quick overview of the Active School Travel project and touch on why supporting active school travel is good for our children and the community. We'll look at the charter and discuss how the principles align with municipal goals. And then after that, I'll share how THU is committed to supporting active school travel and how community partners and supporting community partners now and into the future. So in late 2018, this council agreed to provide a letter of support to allow us to apply for funds to support active travel in the community. Thanks to your support in 2019, we received a $60,000 grant from Green Communities Canada to offer enhanced active school travel, or AST, programming. Using this funding, we started the Temiskaming AST project and organized a regional steering committee to support direction. So our goal with this project was to make walking and cycling to school the norm for all children in our district. In 2019, October 2019, we began to work with 4 pilot schools, which included Central School, as well as Sacred Heart in Kirkland. To identify the project identified and addressed barriers to walking and wheeling to school. We collected data on student travel mode, parental concerns and attitudes, as well as conducted traffic observations and walkability audits of the school neighborhoods. Using that data, we worked with the steering committee, schools, and parent councils to develop action plans tailored to each school. The benefits of active travel are well known and well researched. Children who walk or wheel to school get on average 17 more minutes of physical activity a day than their bus and driven counterparts. They also experience improved mental and emotional well-being, as well as better concentration in class, which leads to better grades. When more kids walk, there is less traffic at bell times, which leads to safer school zones for all students. Improving walking and cycling routes to school enhances the safety, mobility, and quality of life for the community as a whole. The charter is built upon a statement of principles that recognize the value of active travel to school. So there's no legal status. It's not legally binding in any way, but it does serve to guide schools, municipalities, and all project partners to consider how their activities and decisions can impact active travel. charter development was initiated by the project steering committee this past February and involved consultation with school boards, busing and municipal reps, as well as the MTO. So far, we have received endorsements from all local school boards, as well as the THU Board of Health. Now we're collecting the endorsements from municipalities and other related project partners. The following are the pieces of the charter that relate to municipalities. The first guiding principle is focused on building walking and cycling into school and community culture. So this encourages everyone to get active. To make this happen, the town can support the development and implementation of student travel plans by continuing to provide municipal representative to sit on the regional steering committee and by providing advice and direction on travel issues in the community. The town can also consider how various policy or infrastructure actions can impact or encourage active travel. When it comes to ensuring students can get to school safely and enjoy the benefits of active travel, we all have an important role to play. Getting students regularly walking and biking to school requires municipalities, the school, and the community to all work together. To support this, the town can work with the school and project partners to find solutions to safety concerns in the school neighborhood. For example, this might include things like painting a new crosswalk, adding school zone signage, or assessing speed limits in areas where speed has been identified as an issue. The town can also work with staff at THU to find and apply for funding to make routes safer and to promote active travel in the general community. People are more likely to feel comfortable traveling by foot or by bike if they feel that the streets are safe and convenient. The town can support residents' ability to move freely around the community by continuing to participate in school zone walkability audits and by considering how we can maintain pathways so that active travel remains a safe option for all year round. Not only does improved active travel infrastructure support all residents to move freely throughout the community, bicycle-friendly and walkable towns can lead to greater economic activity within the municipality. With regards to land use and site planning, connectivity is key, and municipalities are the gatekeeper to this component. So whenever possible, consider how to expand or create new sidewalks, pathways, and cycle routes that provide pedestrian links between home, school, and other destinations in the community. For example, watch for desire lines or worn paths that residents use to move around the community, and if an opportunity is presented, consider how that space might be improved. So the town of Kirkland Lake is well positioned to promote active travel as a safe and healthy way to get around the community. Kirkland Lake has already committed to supporting active travel in a number of established municipal plans, many of which overlap with this project identified needs. The official plan includes references to active travel by encouraging residential developments to consider proximity to facilities and businesses as a means to support increased pedestrian activity. And it also highlights the need for accessible and barrier-free pedestrian walkways and trails, as well as community layouts that encourage walkability. In the age-friendly plan, walkability and accessibility are noted as areas of key concern within the outdoor spaces and public building dimensions. The plan also includes action items to improve areas that have been identified within our project report, as well as improvements to support active school travel, such as extending the time to cross at pedestrian lights and reviewing sidewalks for walkability. Likewise, the winter maintenance plan prioritizes school zones for snow clearance, so that in and of itself supports students to get safely to and from school. THU is committed to supporting all project partners in charter implementation now and into the future. We want this to be as easy as possible for you to participate. So from our end, we commit to leading the Active School Travel Project and to develop student travel plans for all local elementary schools. We'll continue supporting community-wide active transportation through education, communications campaigns, and partner collaboration. In your agenda package, you'll also see a banner that further describes THU support. We'll work to support investments to boost active travel and assist municipalities with writing funding applications when needed. And we're also here to consult on municipal policies and infrastructure changes that impact active travel. So when we support active travel, we're not only supporting the school community, we're enhancing the safety, mobility, and quality of life for the community as a whole. When streets consider and meet the needs of the youngest and the most vulnerable, they're safe and more useful for everyone. Of course, the support also translates to better participation in the local economy and to a community where people want to live and to which people want to visit and move to. Overall, the purpose of the charter is to serve as a guiding document and to lay out a district-wide approach to supporting active travel. For signing partners, the charter provides direction and suggests ways that we can work together to encourage and help students and families get to school safely and actively. Thank you for your time. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, we look forward to your decision.
Councillor Ivanov.
Yeah, no, I certainly support that. I think it's a great idea, and the fact you're taking leadership in that, I think it make Kirkland Lake a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Crystal. Good presentation. We certainly, as a council and staff, support this program, and we'll do whatever we can to help out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
I have a motion moved by Patrick Adams, seconded by Casey Owens. Be it resolved that the delegation by Crystal Gorman from the Health Unit be received.
All in favor? Motion carried. Item 4.2, the Joe Mavernack Community Complex naming. Mary Ann Mavernack will be joining us virtually.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome,
Okay.
Mary Ann.
Thank you, thank you. Mayor Kiley, Councillors Adams, Ivanov, Owen, Owens, and White, and the citizens of Kirkland Lake. I appreciate the opportunity to present today about the issue of naming the Joe Mavernack Community Complex in the council chamber in which my father presided for so many years. I'm really humbled to be doing this. My name is Mary Ann Mavernack, and I'm the daughter of Joe Mavernack. Having Joe Mavernack as a father meant sharing him with the town of Kirkland Lake. Starting in the 1950s, he contributed thousands of hours of community service and in fact was a counselor for the town from 1959 to 61. His contributions were vast, from grassroots support to numerous athletic teams to chairing the building and fundraising committee for the community complex from 1974 to 78, where, with a fantastic team of volunteers, a debt-free community complex was delivered to the citizens of Kirkland Lake. These are just a few of my father's contributions, even before he was elected mayor from 1981 to 1997. It was fitting to many that on November 4th, 2000, the community complex was named in his honor, the Joe Mavernack Community Complex. Ms. Elliott, could you kindly show my first slide? This is my father at age 88, 3 years before he died at the Tech Pioneer residence in 2015, standing in front of the Joe Mavernack Community Complex. Upon receiving this honor in 2000, he said, "I am proud to have my name associated with this fine building. I will cherish this moment for the rest of my life." Of course, it's easy for a daughter to praise their father. However, in looking at the news clippings from 2000, when the complex was renamed, the accolades were broad and deep. Walter Franchik, the Gazette's editor, said, "You could call it the Joe, like Detroit's famous arena, named after boxing champion Joe Louis. Kirkland Lake's community complex has been christened after a fighter, a man who sparred in the political arena, fought long and hard for his town. The community complex has been named after Joe Mavernack, the town's longest serving mayor, or the words of Mayor Richard Denton at the opening ceremony. The water purification plant, pumping station, sewage plant, ONTC building, DVA, Joe has had a hand bringing all of these to Kirkland Lake. It was Joe who led the venture to completion. This day is long overdue in recognizing Joe. Ms. Elliott, you can remove this slide. Thanks. Why am I here today? I'm here to try to right a wrong. The long overdue recognition of my father was erased when, on December 3rd, 2019, you, Council, unanimously defeated a motion from the Parks and Recreation Committee to retain the name the Joe Mavernack Community Complex. You then directed staff to investigate corporate naming opportunities for the now former Joe Mavernack Community Complex. I learned about this via text from a dear friend who pointed me to Facebook where the issue was blowing up. Current and former KLers were outraged you had taken this action. For days, this continued. I emailed and wrote you, Mayor Kiley and Council, trying to understand why this had happened. I believe what happened is rooted in this next slide. Thank you, Ms. Elliott. Be it resolved that on this day, Saturday, November 4th, 2000, the Council for the Corporation of the Town of Kirkland Lake has bestowed on this facility the Joe Mavernack Community Complex. This certainly looks like a resolution, meaning a bylaw to me. However, upon investigating the records from 2000, you learned that there was no record of such a bylaw. Others have confirmed for me that the 2000 Council unanimously voted for the naming. I believe that there was either an administrative oversight or a clerical error that occurred that meant a bylaw was not formally created. It was clearly the intent of the 2000 Council to create such a bylaw. Why would the text of the plaque include resolution-like language if they were not working from a resolution? Thank you, Ms. Elliott. You can take that slide down. It seems that, in your view, the lack of an official bylaw from 2000 opened the door to a new naming, one that would hopefully bring in money to support the complex that was in dire need of funds due to the cost overrun for the new aquatic center. In August 2018, I wrote to Mayor Antoniazzi, congratulating him and council on the new aquatic center, asking when the sign for the Joe Mavernack Community Complex would be re-erected. In that letter, I offered to contribute to the cost of a new sign if the old sign had been discarded. I have repeated this offer on more than one occasion to you, the current mayor and council. I have never received a reply to this offer. After the firestorm on social media and the many people that called or wrote the town hall last December, you clarified your intentions, exclaiming at the December 10th meeting of town council and in the Northern News that, I quote, "The name hasn't changed." When we passed the name change part of the discussion, it wasn't necessarily taking the name from the building. It is business as usual. It's the Joe Mavernack Community Complex, unquote. I was very grateful about this and wrote to you on December 16th, 2019, stating, I am writing to thank you for your willingness to pursue a win-win outcome that will preserve the honor bestowed on my father by a previous council in naming the Joe Mavernack Community Complex. You indicated that at no time was it council's intention to remove the Joe Mavernack name, citing the model used for the Dave Keon Arena as an example of the direction you wish to take. I wish to achieve a similar win-win for the town and for retaining my father's legacy, I wrote. I reiterated my offer to financially contribute to the re-erection of an exterior sign. And in my personal conversation with Mayor Kiley, I offered to assist with any fundraising. Since I wrote on December 16, 2019, COVID has struck and all things were put on hold. Notwithstanding, I became increasingly concerned. In spite of your assertion that nothing had changed, the Joe Mavernack Community Complex was no longer being used on the website, in town correspondence, and an exterior sign had not been re-erected. Yet I was heartened that the signs at the east and west ends of the town were still up. I wrote you, Mayor Kiley, in September and then in early October of 2020. I then wrote to you, the council, on October 26 to register my concern about the name and your promise to keep me in the loop. This led to today's invitation. I still want a win-win for the town of Kirkland Lake and the legacy that my father left the town. I would like you to send a stronger message that the name still stands. I hereby formally request that council correct the unintentional oversight of the previous council from 2000 by nullifying the motion from December 3rd, 2019 that does not retain the name, create a new motion and bylaw to reinstate the Joe Mavernack Community Complex name, whether solely or jointly if there's a corporate donor, re-erect an exterior sign for the Joe Mavernack Community Complex, and direct staff that references on the website, town-generated social media, and formal town correspondence use the Joe Mavernack Community Complex. Lest you think I am an absentee family member, I have stayed invested in the town of Kirkland Lake through lifelong friendships, providing donations to various organizations, regular visits, and planning a return to live in this area upon retirement. My husband and I hope to use the Joe Mavernack Community Complex on a regular basis. I am so proud of my father, and I am a proud Kirkland Laker who is fighting to right a wrong. I dearly hope, Mayor Kiley and councillors, that you can see your way through to achieve my requests, which I believe echo the sentiments of your current and former constituents. I would like the opportunity to discuss any options and to work with you to find a mutually agreeable path forward. I am indebted to all of the many supporters who have spoken out about this issue. My dad was all about community. He would be so honored to know we are fighting to keep the Joe in the community complex. Finally, I will send this text to the clerk to be included in the official meeting minutes for today. Thank you again for this opportunity, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Can't dispute anything you're saying. It has dragged on for some time.
I know.
It has to be straightened out and done right. And that is our intention.
Yeah.
The Parks and Rec Committee are meeting shortly. I intend on attending that meeting and getting further input from them. I know they did support leaving the name as it stood. It's unfortunate that it in year 2000 it never got done properly, but we're not making any more excuses. We've got to get this thing fixed. I agree with you, and I support personally. I do support leaving the name as the Joe Mavernack Complex, and I know we've received a lot of correspondence to council members in support of what you're asking for. So we will make it right, one way or the other.
Thank you so much. It means the world. It just means the world. Thank you.
So, Councillor Owen.
Yeah, I just wanted to address something here that council did not forget about the naming of the Joe Mavernack Community Complex. It's my understanding that we came to an agreement that that name would stay and that we would try to get corporate sponsorship to enhance the complex. Ms. Sackrider came to council 6 or 7 months ago and suggested at that time, due to COVID, that it was not a good time to go out and try and sell the name. And I remember that specifically because I backed Ms. Sackrider on her suggestion. So it may appear to you that we've put it on the back burner and forgotten it. That is not the impression the council wanted to leave. During COVID, it's very difficult to go to companies and ask them for the corporate sponsorship. I was, and it's probably just me, I was unaware of your offer to financially support a sign, and that's probably just my memory. But the name has not changed. I'm not a social media person, so I wasn't aware that it wasn't being referred to as Joe Mavernack Community Complex. And I'm sure that's something that we can rectify quite easily. And I just want to thank you for your continued interest in Kirkland Lake. There's something about ex-KLers. They never forget where they came from, and I think that says a lot about the community. So thank you for participating today.
May I respond to your question, Mayor, to Councillor Owen's comments, Mayor Kiley?
Yes, please.
Why I wanted to speak today, Councillor Owens, is that the motion from December 3rd did say that the name was, the recommendation for the name to be retained was unanimously defeated. And also the website for the town no longer uses the name. So the name seems to be going away, and I absolutely agree. I held off to ask any questions until September because I know that we are all working through a pandemic. So I do want to acknowledge that I did that as well, but that's why I've become more concerned. The name's not used on the website and in correspondence, and it did get defeated, the name retention.
Well, what we're proposing is to, I will propose in a motion shortly, is to meet again with the Parks and Rec, and possibly by the next council meeting, come back and confirm what the intentions of council is on your request.
Thank you very much.
I do have to agree with Councillor Owen about some of these websites and changes. I wasn't aware of it either, Marianne, and I
Okay.
don't think that's not a good excuse. I agree, but it was brought to our attention only in the last month or two. But we want to move forward with it and honor your father for all the great work he did for Kirkland Lake, and we don't want to forget him.
Okay,
So
thank you so much.
We will move forward.
Thank you, everyone.
For your presentation.
Thanks.
So through you, your worship, the proposed motion is moved by Eugene Ivanov, seconded by Rick Owen. Currently, it is just to receive.
Can we add to that requesting a further report from the Parks and Rec Committee or the manager of Parks and Recs, Bonnie? I had some discussion with her about this the other day, and I think after we have that meeting with the Parks and Rec, then we can bring it back to council with more information. Unfortunately, when the original motion was made, well, I guess it's a year ago now, when the committee did recommend the name remain the same, there wasn't any council representation at that meeting. Unfortunately, it was the same night as the council meeting, so council didn't really get the full report, both sides of the story. So we need to follow that up, and that's what my intentions are, and come back to council with the assistance of Ms. Sackrider. So if we can add something.
Can I suggest we do that with a separate motion? So just receive and then we'll do a follow-up and just staff be directed to report back on the name of Joe Mavernack.
Okay, we'll go ahead with this, and then we'll do a separate motion for staff to come back with a report.
Okay, so we have a motion moved by Eugene Ivanov, seconded by Rick Owen. Be it resolved that the delegation by Mary Ann Mavernack be received.
All in favor? Motion carried. We have a secondary motion then directing staff to come back with a report at the next council meeting as a result of the committee meeting.
So your worship, is there a counselor that would like to move this motion?
Councillor White,
And a seconder?
Councillor Owens,
I was going to say, Counselor White, what would you like to move the motion?
The motion would be to direct staff to return a report to council after the next Parks and Recreation Committee meeting.
that's good.
Okay.
On the naming of the Joe Mavronack Community Contract.
With their recommendations, yeah.
So I have a motion moved by Stacy White, seconded by Casey Owens. Be it resolved that staff be directed to report to council after receiving recommendations from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Yes, sorry, I can reword that. Okay. So be it resolved that staff be directed to report to council after receiving recommendations from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for the naming of the Joe Mavronack Community Complex.
Okay. All in favor? Motion carried. Item 4.3, KL Solar, Paul Nadeau.
Sorry to interrupt your worship.
Oh, sorry.
Before we jump to Paul, may I request just 1 second to
Yep.
do something with the technology? Thanks.
No problem.
Is the next delegation by Zoom?
I think so, eh?
Megan? Take it away. Take it away and turn it off.
I can maybe turn off the video. We're using that for staff as well. Thank you, your worship.
We now call on Paul Nadeau on the subject of the KL Solar. Paul, you're on.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Am I coming in loud and clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So I was asked to bring a presentation to council tonight to give an update for 2020 on the KL Solar projects. But I thought that since this is our first presentation to council, or to this council, that would be prudent to maybe give a bit of history and a bit of context on who Cap Energy is and what we're all about. So I'd like to start maybe by introducing Cap Energy. So we were formed in 2011. We're a company 100% owned by the town of Kapuskasing. We do have our own solar assets that we own 100%. So we have 9 of these projects in Mississauga, Ontario, which total about 1 megawatt. We do own and operate 2 FIT projects in Kapuskasing area that are about a megawatt each. We do own and operate 32 microfits in the town of Kapuskasing. So that's about 320 kilowatts of energy. And then we have the partnership projects with other municipalities, which include 13 projects with a total combined generation of 4.1 megawatts. So our total portfolio size is about 6.42 megawatts. So it's quite large. So we're based out of Kapuskasing. We have 2 full-time employees. So myself, Paul, and Mireille, my administrative assistant. And we also have access to the town of Cap staff for support. The board of directors for Cap Energy is comprised of the town of Cap mayor, We have 2 members of council, and then also the CAO and a member at large. And then what we do is when we create like a solar board such as KL Solar, we normally comprise it of the mayor of the host municipality, representative of the host municipality, and then the town of Cap mayor and also the town of Cap CAO. So we currently have partnerships with a number of municipalities, being Cobalt, McGarry, Englehart, Kirkland Lake, and Matachewan. So what we normally do in these partnerships is that the host municipality would provide us available land to build the sites, and then Cap Energy would provide the technical expertise to apply, construct, operate, and finance the construction of the solar projects. So in this case, for Kirkland Lake, we applied for 3 500 kilowatt fit contracts with the Independent Electricity Systems Operator. These were applied for back in 2013. We were awarded these contracts in September 2014. Then we started the work to develop these. They are 20-year contracts. All the contracts are rated at 28.8 cents per kilowatt hour. So for Kirkland Lake, what we did is we constructed 3 projects along Archer Drive. All 3 are mirror images, so all 3 use our 500 kilowatt dual axis ground mounts. They all use string inverters with bifacial modules with their latest technology. They were constructed by Sentinel Solar and they came online in March 2019. We went through a period of a phasing period in terms of production in order to bring these online properly. So what we do is we go through each and every component to make sure they operate efficiently, and then we bring in an independent engineer to evaluate the sites. So that was done over the summer of 2019, and then they finally came into full production in late August 2019. We brought these to long-term financing in August 2019. Financed about $6 million with TD Bank. The total build cost was about 7.6, almost 7.7 million. So about 80% was financed through TD Bank. The rest is held long-term with Cap Energy. So we financed $6 million at 4.37% on an 18-year amortization. So then I'll move into what the current production looks like. So we monitor these sites day in, day out. We have an operation and maintenance contract with a company that monitors them 4 times a day. And then we measure the production versus the independent engineers' estimates, which were created when they first reviewed the sites. So so I'm going to review some production numbers here from 2020, starting January. So in the commissioning phase that we did last summer, we went through everything was fine. And then when the snow started falling in December and January, we noticed that there was certain issues with the charging systems for the batteries. So that impeded a bit of production in the early first quarter of 2020. So if we look at January 2020, we had an independent engineer's estimate on all 3 sites of 154 megawatts. We ended up producing only 27 megawatts. So that's about 18% of what the IEs had projected. We move on to February, and then this issue was resolved in March. By the way, it took a while to get all the components in and everybody on site to fix it. So in February, the IEs expected us to generate 217 megawatts. We ended up generating 111, so that's 51%. In March, we had IEs estimates of 333 megawatts. We produced 190 at 57%. And then once we got those issues resolved in April, the IEs had us geared to produce 317 megawatts. We produced 322, so we were 102%. In May, we were supposed to produce 357. We produced 352, so that's 98%. In June, 352 megawatts. We produced 345, which is 98% again. In July, we were supposed to produce 335 megawatts. We produced 343. That's 103%. In August, 299 megawatt was the estimate. We produced 309, so that's 103%. And then in September, we were geared to produce 220. We produced 206 megawatts. So overall in the year, we were at about 85% of the IE's estimates, and that's only due to January, February, and March having lower production numbers due to the failed charging systems. So far this year, we've generated, in terms of revenue, $636,697 of gross revenue. I'm going to pull up here our income statement for September 30th. So we have about $423,000 in expenses, and then we have a net income of about $213,000 so far. So we still have October, November, and December to go. Those are lower production months, but also we don't do much repairs and maintenance in those months. We tend to keep that for the nicer months during the summertime. So that's basically the update in terms of where we are with the KL Solar projects for 2020. Are there any questions on production or anything else? Or? I'm sorry, are there any questions on the presentation?
Paul, sorry about that. Paul, what I was asking for was council's anxious to know when we're going to start seeing some revenue coming back to the municipality. We can appreciate that the technical challenges we had in getting the project up and running, but it seems to be getting close to production levels that we anticipated. So we're looking for some kind of a date when we can plan on getting some revenues. I know you can't say you're going to be distributing X number of dollars next January, but is January realistic, or when might do you think this is going to start happening? As you know, we're starting to get into the budget process, so we'd like to see some of these dollars coming forward.
Yes, for sure. So normally what we do is we wait till the year end is done. We see how much free cash flow we have, and then it's up to the board's discretion on what type of dividends to issue. So we can expect this probably, I'd say March or April for actual numbers to be associated with dividends, depending on how quick we get our year end back from the auditors and what types of, when we can hold a KL Solar board meeting to associate numbers to those distributions.
Okay. For the benefit of council, my understanding, Paul, is that we are required, KL Solar that is, to maintain on deposit the equivalent amount of the loan payment on an annualized basis. Is that, am I correct in that?
Yes, so we have one bank account, and in that bank account, we have a reserve amount that should be held at all times, which is equivalent to 6 months payments according to TD's amortization schedule.
6 months, okay. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from Councillor White?
So normally when any of our members sit on any boards, we receive agendas and minutes from those boards. Are we not entitled to receive minutes from the board of KL Solar?
Paul, would you care to answer that?
Yes, those minutes are available and they can be brought to council for information items.
Yeah, I think the other thing, Paul, when we had our last meeting, we discussed quarterly updates. So is that mechanism now in place that we'll get more regular reporting? But it gives us some comfort in knowing exactly where we stand on a quarterly basis. Like any good business sense, we should be on top of things. So that's what we're looking for. It's not to question management, but to know exactly where we stand. Because I guess we felt that we would have seen some revenue before this, and we haven't so far. So we're anxious to get some money in the pot. As you know, same thing, Capital Casing is here. We're running a tight budget. So not that we have the money spent, but there are needs.
Yes, we have put in place quarterly reporting requirements. So we did have two Kale Solar board meetings this year, and the next one is planned for January as soon as we close out Q4, and then we can schedule some regular updates to council as well.
Okay, I think that gives us a certain comfort level to knowing exactly where we're at. Any other comments or questions from council? None noted. Okay, thank you, Paul, for the update, and keep us up to date.
Thank you very much for having me. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion moved by Stacy White, seconded by Casey Owens. Be it resolved that the delegation by Paul Nadeau from KL Solar be received.
All in favor? Motion carried. Item number 5, acceptance of minutes and recommendations.
I have a motion moved by Casey Owens, seconded by Eugene Ivanov. Be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the following meetings. Minutes of the regular meeting of council held October 20th, 2020. Minutes of the special meeting of council held October 27th, 2020. And that council accept the minutes from the following meetings. Minutes of the Kirkland Lake Public Library Board special teleconference meeting held May 14th, 2020. Minutes of the Kirkland Lake Public Library Board informal meeting held June 26th, 2020. And minutes of the Kirkland Lake Public Library Board regular meeting held September 17th, 2020.
All in favor? Motion carried. Reports, item number 6, reports of municipal officers and communications. 6.1, vacant seat. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to council. As presented in the report today, we are required to declare the vacant seat as Councillor Dennis Perrier passed away on October 16th, 2020. As well included in this report is information for next steps. So the Municipal Act outlines that council can fill the vacancy by 2 ways, but within one way there are multiple options. So A, filling the vacancy by appointing a person who has consented to accept the office if appointed, or B, require a by-election to be held to fill the vacancy in accordance with the Municipal Elections Act. So under option A for filling the vacancy appointing a person, that can be done through appointment from municipal election candidates from who was runners-up in the 2018 municipal election. You can choose to appoint by a call for applications, or you can directly appoint somebody as council. And then in option B would be a by-election, and keeping in mind the by-election route would involve essentially the same amount of work for a total municipal election. And I am open to questions at this time.
I think personally, I'd like to see the mechanism to be put in place for us to follow for direction for those 2 categories, but mainly option 1 to ensure that we're doing it fairly and making sure we're following the proper procedure. Councillor Ivanov.
Yes, I mean, I think when the people voted, there's an election list of the people that were next, and I think that's probably the list we should go by and go down the list and see who's next. It's Lad Shab, I think, is the next candidate who he was within 30 votes of of a current councillor, and I think we should allow him the respect and the opportunity to serve on council.
Thank you, Councillor Ivanov. Councillor Owen.
If we follow the precedent set by previous councils, since I've lived in town, this issue has come up twice. And in both cases, they invited applications and then chose a new council member that way.
So just to elaborate on that, Councillor Owen, the town advertised the position to be open and welcomed applications. That was the process.
That's my memory in both cases. Council chose because circumstances are different today than they were at the time of the election. I don't know what their rationale was for doing it that way, but I only remember it happening twice, and in both cases, they invited applications. And then I assume an in-camera meeting had a discussion and chose the candidate they thought best suited for the job. I don't recall any problems with the functioning of council after the new member was appointed, but that's a historic perspective on the issue.
Thank you. I do think that's a reasonable request. If we could ask Madam Clerk to possibly come back at the next council meeting with the mechanism to do that. Doesn't have to be too complicated. And then we can decide maybe at the next meeting which route we're going to go. Does that sound reasonable? I think we need to consider all options. Are you okay with going ahead with that process? It'll give us, at the same time, I think it'll give us the opportunity to do some thinking about which method will be the most advantageous to this council.
Wasn't that
Councilor Owens?
Isn't that the purpose of the motion tonight? There's no, like, if I read this motion, that's what we're supposed to do, right? Like you
Well, one
declare the
motion,
seed
yeah, one motion will be to,
but there was no like right now, according to this, if I read it correctly, is we declare the seat vacant, think about it for the next 2 weeks, and then
Yep.
just come back. There's no modifications to be done, I believe, right?
that's correct.
Okay.
And through your worship, I have it listed for Councillor Rick Owen as the mover, and from discussions, would you like me to add in to provide a procedure on the call for applications at the next meeting?
No, I see no reason to change the motion. Like Casey, that my understanding was that all we were doing tonight was declaring the seat open. You gave us the information on our various choices, and that we would think about it and then come back with a decision at our next council meeting. I think it's quite clear.
Yeah, and I think you can give us a few pointers on how the process should, the mechanism, whatever we decide. Doesn't have to be in writing. that aspect of it I'm talking.
So the motion is moved by Rick Owen, seconded by Patrick Adams. Be it resolved that report number 2020-CLK-005 entitled Vacant Seat be received, that the council seat occupied by Councillor Dennis Perrier is hereby declared vacant, and that this matter be referred to the November 17th, 2020 regular meeting of council to provide sufficient time for members of council to consider the options presented within this report, and at the November 17th, 2020 regular meeting of council, debate the course of action that council wishes to choose to fill the council seat vacated by the passing of Councillor Dennis Perrier.
Any, any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. Item 6.2, financial and key performance indicators, quarterly report. Quarter 3, 2020. Mr. Keith Gorman, Director of Corporate Services.
Good evening, Your Worship, through you to Council. I'm pleased to present this on behalf of the senior leadership team of the town of Kirkland Lake. And I'd like to go through some of the report and the details contained within. From a financial perspective, as indicated within the report, our revenue sources continue to track well to budget through the 3/4 point of 2020. Our taxation amounts have been realized as per our 2020 plans. Operating grants are trending to be above budget, with Safe Restart Phase 1 funding and our final 2020 installment of OMPF funding all to be received within the 4th quarter. We have noted a couple areas with small deficiencies in revenue, such as provincial offenses, but those are likely to be realized and offset by increased amounts in other areas, such as investment income and penalties and interests. When we look at the expenditure side of our costs through 9 months, the operating expenses continue to track well to budget, with most areas budget aligned or seeing some savings within. Probably most concerning within this report is our capital spend, which continues to trail budget intent despite the uptick in the 3rd quarter. When we're looking at the capital variance, it's largely driven by several key projects. In particular, when we look, our Swastika decommissioning project was intended to be $3 million, or nearly 50% of our capital budget, and we've only spent $600,000 year to date on this project. In reviewing the project with the team, we noted there were numerous delays within the planning, engineering, and approval phases of the project, which has resulted in delays in awarding the contract, which is likely to be awarded here in the 4th quarter. And as such, we've seen quite the deferral on spend. Similarly, as we look through the project list, there's another significant project that is really driving this favorable variance, which is the energy efficiencies project. Originally, when we had budgeted this project, it was anticipated to be $600,000, or nearly 10% of our capital budget. And with lack of funding, we did not proceed as planned. As we work our way through the report, I'll touch on each of the different attachments. The second attachment are key initiatives and service statistics for various areas of our organization. The hope is these metrics will help identify and better understand our organization and help you understand sort of the cost implications based on these physical metrics. So for instance, when we touched on COVID spending, we talked a lot about the recreation center and the lost revenues. We hope that this helps put it in perspective when we see the daily visits, the reduction in memberships, and those sort of things. In our third listing, we have a detailed capitals project listing, which would really be used to complement and better understand that capital spend that I spoke to earlier. While our dollars continue to be below budget, when you look at this report, you'll note that there have been a number of projects started into Q3 and now into Q4, which is suggesting that we should see our capital spend increase through the 4th quarter, particularly as items such as our grader are invoiced, And we continue to see and receive project costs for monitoring wells, Wilson Avenue work, Lakeshore paving, and that SWAS decommissioning thing that should be awarded this month. The final attachment within the report summarizes our progress and ongoing status of priorities that were identified within our strategic plan. As everyone is well aware, the plan was quite ambitious. If we were really looking to sort of summarize this particular report, I would say that there's a lot of things in the works, and we'll need to be mindful to not lose focus throughout the fourth quarter as we seek these objectives. When we're looking at these strategic priorities, a number of the Q3 and Q4 deliverables are being aligned with key processes and tasks that we're currently undertaking. For instance, a number of them align well with our 2021 budget deliberations, as well as our ongoing service delivery review with WSCS. As such, we should be able to see a large portion of these tasks be completed as intended. Before concluding, I'd like to welcome Mr. McGee or any of my fellow directors to add anything they may wish to the report. And then after that, if there's any questions, we'll try our best to help.
Keith, based on this, on the capital projects, it looks like it's going to be a carryover into 2021 at this stage because we're nowhere close. Any particular reason for that? I would think the water treatment up at Beaver Hill is certainly a delay. Or the Swastika sewage treatment plant.
Yeah, far and away, that would be your biggest driver. It was intended to be $3 million and was intended to start much earlier than it has. With the delay in awarding the contract, we're just not seeing that stuff come through. We've seen the preliminary engineering start to come through, but this will likely be one aspect that basically carries forward into 2021 and impacts it significantly. As far as some of the other projects, they do have started. There are a lot of them in progress, and they should close out towards the fourth quarter. What we'll be doing is we work through our 2021 deliberations. We'll be keeping a mindful approach to these ones in particular and trying to make sure that we forecast appropriately and identify our target towards the end of the year and ensure we've got adequate coverage into 2021.
Any other comments, questions from council? Okay, carry on.
Okay. So I have a motion moved by Stacy White, seconded by Eugene Ivanoff. Be it resolved that memorandum number 2020-FIN-008 entitled Financial and Key Performance Indicators Quarterly Report Q3 2020 be received.
All in favor? Carried. Councillor Owen, hang on one moment, please.
Yeah, you didn't see my hand, but I just wanted
Sorry.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Gorman for his all his hard work on this report. It's something that I think even I can understand, which is pretty amazing because I'm not a figures guy. So thank you very much and your team for supplying council with very detailed information.
Yeah, just a comment, ditto what Councillor Owen is saying. We've gone from, we weren't getting much information over in the previous year, but we certainly have a lot here. I think it's going to take a little while for us to get used to some of this and digest it, but much appreciated for all the hard work that's gone into it because it's certainly complete, to say the least. So thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't realize it was presented already. Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to council, we are actually looking at the request to purchase land for the east of 26 Dixon Avenue. As you may recall, back in September, Ms. Bernadine Kozak raised concern about the lot lines of the surveyed lands at this location. We gave her until the first meeting of November to bring information forward related to the survey and the pegs in the ground. We have not received anything to date. We have notified Ms. Kozak that the recommendation brought forward to council is that the bylaw to sell the land will be considered at the next council meeting. And that is our recommendation for the motion today.
First of all, Ashley, my humble apologies. I thought you were presenting in conjunction with Keith. So, and I should have announced that next item. So, any comments on that? What Ms. Bilodeau was saying? Yes, Councillor Owen.
Yeah, I just have one question. Ms. Kozak's house, is that the one at the back?
Through Your Worship, yes, it is the one in the back.
Does she still have access to her property? I
Yeah.
couldn't really.
So immediately adjacent to the red rectangle,
Yeah.
there's two vehicles there. That is
Yeah.
her driveway.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Ms. Bilodeau, has Ms. Kozak, has she come back with any comments as to where she's going with this? Because this has dragged on for quite some time. And I think we've been more than lenient with her in that respect.
Oh, through Your Worship, no, there has not been any correspondence since originally notifying her that it was delayed until this meeting. So we have reached out to her again, and I have not heard back, but we figured we'd give her till the November 17th date to make a case or concern.
Okay, I suggest we stick with that. It was a reasonable time frame. And the neighbors have been very patient, but they're anxious to move on with this as well. So thank you for the update. Any further comments or questions? Motion to receive.
The motion moved by Casey Owen, seconded by Rick Owen. Be it resolved that memorandum number 2020-DEV-007 entitled Request to Purchase Land East of 26 Dixon Avenue be received, and that staff be directed to present a bylaw to council at the November 17th, 2020 regular meeting of council to authorize the corporation of the town of Kirkland Lake to enter into an agreement of purchase and sale to sell the land to the east of 26 Dixon Avenue to Theodore and Brenda Bukowski for a sale price of $300.
All in favor? Motion carried. Item 6.4, KL Gold support letter.
Through Your Worship to council, we received this report addresses an issue that was brought to our attention late last week, and we had previously communicated back in August regarding this issue. But essentially, it's a operational issue that KL Gold has with the dewatering of the water that's within the Lakeshore Basin. So they're asking for our support in their application to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks to amend their permit to take water for Lakeshore Pond from a seasonal to a permanent nature. I have had the ability to speak to the Ministry of Environment, so I was on the phone with them yesterday to try and get a little bit more understanding of the issue at hand. From my understanding, and to add to what's written in the report, this request was actually put forward back in 2016 to the ministry, and unfortunately, studies that were requested by the ministry were not completed. So at this point, I think the recommendation still stands in terms of supporting Kirkland Lake Gold in their application, as it does result in significant economic development within our town. Also, the suggestion that Mayor Kiley be authorized to request a meeting with the Ministry of Environment and John Vantoff and the representatives from Kirkland Lake Gold to facilitate a quick resolution to this. Based on the correspondence that we had with them, their permit to take water is
officially over as of November 1st. So right now they're in a little bit of a problematic situation. So the letter of support is attached as a document and was submitted to Kirkland Lake Gold and the ministry on October 29th. And at this point, we're just requesting council support.
This certainly would be a time to have Councillor Perry involved. Keep an eye out for us, Dennis, because it's a bit complicated, the whole process. So hopefully we'll get a clear understanding in the next few weeks. I'm more referring to myself. You have a motion?
Motion moved by Eugene Ivanoff, seconded by Stacy White. Be it resolved that memorandum number 2020-dev-006 I don't know if there's an M, entitled Kirkland Lake Gold Support to Amend PTTW be received. That council formally supports Kirkland Lake Gold in the application to amend the permit to take water for Lakeshore Pond, and that Mayor Kiley is hereby authorized to request a meeting with the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, MPP John Vantoff, and representatives from Kirkland Lake Gold to facilitate a resolution to the situation.
All in favor? Motion carried. Item 6.5, Economic Development Committee recommendations.
Through you, Your Worship. The memo concerns a recommendation that came forward from the committee at its last meeting. As you are aware, I'm sure there is a program that Northern College is putting forward, a electric vehicle technician program. The recommendation calls for council to support the establishment of the program at the Kirkland Lake campus. Also, that the staff be directed to forward correspondence to President Penner expressing the support of the community to have the program established at the college, and also that the mayor engage with Kirkland Lake Gold to gain its support, considering that it would be one of the primary users or beneficiaries of that program. The minutes that will be published will have the full recommendations in them. They shall be forthcoming in the next meeting.
Okay. Certainly, we would like to see it at the Northern College Kirkland Lake campus. Early indications that it was going elsewhere, so I think we have to lobby for that. I mean, all the mines are here, most of them, and it certainly would be a great program to add to the curriculum and attract students. So we will do what we can from a lobbying support process. So, Councillor Ivanov.
Yeah, this electric vehicle thing, I mean, I know it's important to the mines, but it's also something that every car dealership in the world is going to have to get in tune with, because as cars become electric, the skill that requires them to work on these cars is going to be the electric technician program. And this would be certainly imperative to keep this in Kirkland Lake. I think it's going to be a huge program, and it's something that's way into the future. It's not something that's going to disappear in a few years where, some jobs are going to disappear. This is a job of the future. I think it's important that we support and we try to get this in Kirkland Lake if we can. In any way we can help them, including talking to Kirkland Lake Gold about helping with getting the program here, because I know they use a lot of electric equipment there.
Yeah, certainly getting on the ground floor into this program is very important for the town of Kirkland Lake, and the college here in Kirkland Lake would make a huge difference. And you're right, it's a sign of the future in the electronic vehicles, that's for sure. Any other comments or questions from council? Thank you, Wolf. Motion?
Motion moved by Casey Owens, seconded by Eugene Ivanoff. Be it resolved that memorandum number 2020-EDD-006 entitled Economic Development Committee Recommendations be received. that council supports the establishment of Northern College's electric vehicle technician program at the Kirkland Lake campus, that staff be directed to forward correspondence to President Penner expressing council's desire to support Northern College and the electric vehicle technician program at the Kirkland Lake campus, and that council authorizes the mayor to meet with Kirkland Lake Gold to gain support for the electric vehicle technician program at the Kirkland Lake campus.
All in favor? Motion carried. Item 7, consideration of notices of motion. None noted. Item 8, introduction, reading, and consideration of bylaws. None noted. Questions from council to staff? None noted. Notice of motions? None noted. Councillor reports? Nothing to report at this time. Additional information, we just flashed by it there. There was a letter from the Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development, and I think we have a motion to support that endeavor.
A motion moved by Rick Owen, seconded by Stacy White. Be it resolved that the letter dated October 15th, 2020 from Monty McNaughton be received.
All in favor? Motion carried. Item 12.2, inquiry report from the sorry. Councillor Owen, are you?
This motion is just to receive the report. And since I sat in an open meeting when the report was presented, I do not see a pecuniary interest at this point in time.
I must remind you or advise you that I did talk to the Integrity Commissioner today, and they did feel that there was a pecuniary interest. So I leave that up to you. We don't decide whether you declare it or not. There will be a motion after that, which you shouldn't vote on. But I'm just giving you the advice.
Well, it's my decision whether I have a pecuniary interest or not. And as I said, I sat here while it was presented. It's just accepting the report. It's receiving the report. That's all that motion states, and I do not see a pecuniary interest.
Okay. At the request of the Integrity Commissioner, I was asked to make sure that this is this declaration is in the actual minutes of the meeting. So I'm instructing the clerk to do so. That he has declined it as a pecuniary interest. What motion do you have? Councillor Adams?
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, you asked the Integrity Commissioner about the actions of Councillor Owens, but would have been nice if that information was provided to the rest of council, because I don't see any documentation that backs that up rather than a verbal conversation. So within our training that we did receive on conflict of interest, it says that we're receiving a report. It's not saying that we're deciding on any financial impact on Councillor Owen. So I'm just kind of curious as to
That's
what our
coming
training.
up, that's coming up after this.
Okay, so there's the report received and then after.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
What, yeah, that's correct. Councillor Owens.
Okay, I just want to state it and make it very clear. And for the past, since this report was brought forward, I have been messaged, email, and asked what I have done wrong. I want to make it clear, and I would ask my fellow councillors to please pronounce the S for me and the no S for Councillor Owen. When politics starts to affect me in my personal job, in my professional career, I have a serious issue with that. So I'm asking, please, excuse me, please be respectful of the difference in our names.
I agree with you totally. One of the things in that particular report had your name in there, which I believe was incorrect. Although the report wasn't actually changed. We found this out after the fact. You pointed it out. Do you care to comment?
I had a discussion on that issue with the Integrity Commissioner. I had a discussion with Ms. Sackrider on the issue. I recall the conversation. I don't recall having an issue with it. It was confirmed in my discussion with Ms. Sackrider. Unfortunately, in the discussion with the Integrity Commissioner, the way she reports it is this is information that was given to them from the witness, and that's how it stands in the report, and that's how it's going to stay in the report. So if at any times my tone, my intentions, or my verbal was perceived by whomever the individual was to be aggressive or displeasing, I do apologize to Ms. Sackrider on that point, but I still believe that it was not.
Thank you for clarifying that. I do understand how you feel about it. I would ask Councillor Owens to take the chair. I'm going to present a motion. If you would, please, as the acting mayor. Okay, we'll go ahead with receiving this. Do you want to read that motion, please? Sorry about that.
Motion moved by Casey Owens, seconded by Eugene Ivanoff. Be it resolved that the Integrity Commissioner inquiry report on Councillor Rick Owen be received.
All in favor? Motion carried. I would now ask Councillor Owens to take the chair.
Councillor Owens? Owen. Yeah. Practice what I preach, right?
Yeah.
Councillor Owen.
Okay, at this time, I will declare a pecuniary interest. But if I am discussed at a public meeting, I am an identifiable person, which within the Municipal Act, I talked to Municipal Affairs today, it's a may, not shall, so it is allowed. But in every other case since this council has been here, identifiable people have been discussed in camera. Noting that, I will, if I am discussed at a public meeting like this, then I will pursue my options in terms of a complaint to the Ontario Human Rights Commission. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor Kiley.
I have a motion be it resolved that Councillor Rick Owens' remuneration in accordance with the bylaw 20-005 be suspended for 30 days as a penalty for being found to have contravened multiple sections of the Town of Kirkland Lake Council Code of Conduct as outlined in the Integrity Commissioner's report as presented October the 20th, 2020, the regular meeting of council. The 30-day remuneration suspension occur from November the 4th, 2020 to December the 3rd, 2020, and that council recommends that Councillor Rick Owens supply a signed apology letter to Ms. Sackrider before the next regular meeting of council. I think I can be a little more lenient on the last part. If Ms. Sackrider is satisfied with a heart-to-heart apology, I would think that would be sufficient. Open for discussion.
Oh, yeah. Any comments, question? Councillor Wade?
There appears to be a very serious question whether we should be discussing this in open council. So I don't feel comfortable doing this at this time. I suggest we seek counsel, legal counsel or from the ministry. At this point, I am unwilling to discuss any further. I'm sorry.
Okay, I did discuss this with our the new integrity commissioner, and in fact that the fact that the report is public with identifiable people, it's already known who the complainant and the counselor involved. So they felt that was okay.
Councillor Adams?
Yep. So we have one opinion from one side, one opinion from the other. I will also refrain from taking part.
Well, we don't have enough for a quorum to vote then. Isn't that correct?
I will, any suggestions here? I am at a loss for this. So that's what I present. So if you are in the chamber and you abstain from voting, that counts. You are basically saying no. So for your vote to not be recorded, you would have to walk away from the chamber, and then we lose quorum. That's the suggestion I was given.
Could you repeat that?
So there is no abstaining of voting around council table. That was explained to us in previous meetings. So an abstained is a no vote. So for it to be an abstain vote, you would have to walk away from the chambers or chamber table. And if you walk away from chamber table, we lose quorum. Yes, Councillor Adams.
So am I able to recommend that we change the motion to seek opinion before voting on this?
I think at this point, if we want to be constructive and move this meeting forward, I believe you would be right on that one. I think we need to seek legal opinion before we can move forward with this matter.
I would be okay then to withdraw this on that basis, but I do say the seriousness of this. We have to work together in mutual harmony and respect for each other, and when that is thrown out the window, it's not great. We're not going to get things done. It's holding back issues that should be dealt with and leaving open wounds. And I think we owe it to support all our councillors and our staff. Personally, I don't think Councillor Owen meant to be malicious in any way. His reasoning was that he wants to ask the tough questions. That's great. I think we all want to ask those tough questions, but we have to do it with respect and with a code of conduct that's acceptable to the people that you're talking to. So I'd just like to make that comment. As far as the motion, then I would suggest we direct staff to get a legal opinion. As really, is it the opinion to whether we can punish a counselor for bad behavior or the process?
Councillor White?
The legal issue isn't the actual withdrawal of his remuneration. The issue is discussing it in open council. It appears to be the issue. Not the, we certainly can follow the IC's report and do exactly what is said in it. However, it's the discussion at open council that's in question that we need to seek written documentation on.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, I think we have to. I'm fine with going ahead in this manner, but the report was open to the public. The recommendations were open to the public. To get this integrity commissioner's report was very expensive to the town. And when there are recommendations, I believe we should follow them. That's my opinion. I know what happened in Elliott Lake on a similar instance, and council did nothing. And I don't believe that's the type of action that should be taken for bad behavior.
Megan?
Through you, Acting Chair Owens, to CAO Rick McGee. Is it in council's purview, since it's a listed agenda item, that if they wish to make a motion to discuss it in closed tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to council. I think the motion that's on the floor is most appropriate, and have legal counsel provide a recommendation to council and not try to freelance this on the fly. And then staff will refrain from making any comment on this.
Okay, so a motion is drawn.
Councillor White, you had your hand up, or okay, go ahead. Motion so withdrawn. So do we need a motion to seek legal counsel now?
Yes.
Do we have a mover and a seconder? Plenty. Councillor Ivanov, mover.
Councillor White.
Councillor White.
Councillor Ivanov, what would you like your motion?
I make the motion I suggest is that we seek a legal opinion on what we should be doing with. I guess we have to find a solicitor to give us an opinion on how we proceed with this this motion. Can it be done in open council, or does it have to be done in closed?
To have staff do this, or to have a member of council do this? What would be the procedure here?
Sorry, Councillor Ivanov. Can we say that again?
That we seek legal advice onto how we should be handling a motion that has a named counselor. I guess that's the gist of it. A named counselor referred to in an open meeting, or should it be moved to a closed?
Okay, so a motion moved by Eugene Ivanoff, seconded by Stacy White. Be it resolved that council seek legal opinion on how to proceed with presenting a motion with a named counselor.
Any comments?
Is that her, Stace?
Yeah. I think so.
All in favor? Carried.
Thank you, Councillor Owens. We have a motion to move into, we're not going into closed yet. Where are we? Yes, okay.
Motion moved by Rick Owens, seconded by Patrick Adams. Be it resolved that council move into a closed session pursuant to section 239(2) to discuss 2 matters regarding labor relations and 1 matter that is subject to solicitor-client privilege.
All in favor? Motion carried. We'll have a 5-minute recess.
Motion, business arising from closed.
We have a motion moved by Eugene Ivanoff, seconded by Stacy White. Be it resolved that council hereby approves the memorandum of settlement dated October 20th, 2020 between the Corporation of the Town of Kirkland Lake and the Canadian Union of Public Employees Local 1074 with a 3.28% wage increase on PSW/healthcare aid classifications and a 1.5% wage increase on all other classification for year 1 and a 1.75% wage increase all classifications for year 2, and that staff be directed to consolidate the collective agreement and present it to council with an authorizing bylaw to execute the collective agreement at the next regular meeting of council.
All in favor? Carried. Confirmation bylaw, I think it's-
Moved by Rick Owens, seconded by Patrick Adams. Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 20-087, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held November 3rd, 2020.
All in favor? Carried. And adjournment.
Moved by Stacy White, seconded by Eugene Ivanoff. Be it resolved that council adjourn the November 3rd, 2020 regular meeting of council.
All in favor? Carried.